In this lesson, we are going to work with vector objects. We'll both import and create vector objects within Fireworks. We are also going to learn how to access color by using the Properties panel. The Properties panel has been vastly improved with the release of CS6. We now have quick access to work with a wider variety of solid colors, gradients, and patterns. The file that I'll be working on is in the Chapter 7 folder, and it's called vector.fw.png. Okay, to add vector, we can either import it or we can create it with the tools here in the Vector section of the Tools panel. Let's start by importing our logo. Control-R, or Command-R, is a shortcut, and in the Chapter 7 folder, you're going to see your Big City Pet Sitters logo.illustrator file. That's the one we'd like to get, so let's click Open. And then Fireworks is going to give us a dialog box, so we could actually scale the vector object here, or we could just click OK. When we click OK, we are ready to click one time on our canvas, and that brings our Illustrator file in to Fireworks. Let's slide it more over on the canvas, and now let's talk about editing your vector. Well, first let's deselect. You may notice that we have a black selection tool called a pointer, and its buddy right here called a subselection tool. In Illustrator, this guy is known as the direct selection tool. This is actually the tool that you use if you need to modify your vector art. So let's grab this guy, and then let's hover over our vector art. Well, as we hover over, we can kind of see the outline, but if we click one time to select one of the vector objects, then we actually see the anchor points and the paths that make up this vector object. If we wanted to modify this guy, you can actually click right here on one of the anchor points and drag, and then you can modify any vector object because, again, this is Illustrator, and we just brought in true vector. So we'll just make a couple more adjustments here. And then let's deselect. Alright, in addition to importing your vector objects from Illustrator or an EPS, we can create vector objects as well. If you look here in the Tools panel underneath the Vector section, you are going to see a lot of different vector tools. The one I'd like to focus on is the second one down. Now for you, you might see the rectangle tool, but if you hold down your mouse, there's a whole lot of other tools underneath here. Go down and select the star. Now to create our star, we're simply going to click and drag anywhere over on your canvas. When you let go, your star is going to be created with whatever fill color that you had active here. See the paint bucket? And also, if it has a stroke, that is pulled from the stroke color here. I don't have one on mine. Well, the star that we have is a basic star, but can be edited very easily. You might have noticed these little yellow diamonds. Those little diamonds allow you to very easily change your vector object. Let's go grab the pointer tool. And when you click one of these yellow diamonds, you can modify the entire object simply by modifying where the diamond ends. Okay, so as you click and drag these guys around, you're going to see that your object changes very easily. Clicking this diamond over to the left, up, adds points. Do you see that? If I let go, I'm going to have a lot of additional points to my star. If that's too much, I'll click and drag it back. When you're happy with your new object, perhaps you want to get creative with a color. Maybe it's a little flat, or perhaps we'd like to add a gradient. Well, CS6 has really improved the Properties panel to give us all kinds of new choices and options for color, gradients, and patterns. Right now, the object is selected and it's filled with this gray color. Well, if you want to choose the gray color, simply click right here on the color swatch, and you can choose any color from this swatches panel. Maybe I'll choose a nice red. Alright, very nice. Well, that's good. Let me deselect. The star is okay for now. Let's create another vector object. I'm just going to deselect that one, and over in the vector tools, this time let's draw an arrow. And when we click and drag with our arrow tool, this time I'm going to get a red arrow because, again, it's picking up the previous fill color. Well, that's okay, looks good, but let's experiment maybe with a gradient. With your arrow still selected, if you click this little tool right here that says Gradient Fill, you are going to get a gradient fill. Now, you may have different colors than I do, but that's okay because we'll create our own colors anyway. But before we create a color, Take a peek right here at the top and check out all the different kinds of gradients that Fireworks allows us to work with. Alright, so you can choose any of these gradients that you like. I think I'm going to go with maybe the linear gradient here on the top. And now let's change the colors. If I want to change the color of the gradient, I'm going to click the left color stop, and I can choose any color that I'd like it to be. And then the right color stop, I can choose any color that I would like that to be. And now I get a custom gradient. If I wanted to add to the gradient, I could easily do that by clicking right here in the gray area to add an additional stop. Click the new stop and then add a color. So let me see if I can get something that looks okay. Maybe go with that color's too much of the same, a nice green color. And again, maybe I'll change this gray to white, and I'll have a nice green gradient. Alright, I'll deselect by clicking away. Let's grab our selection tool, and then we can deselect. So now on our canvas we have a variety of images. We have raster graphics, we also have some vector graphics, and we can reposition our graphics. I think I'll just move my arrow here and take both of these guys, drag a marquee. You can select multiple objects, if you saw that, just by taking your selection tool and dragging a marquee and moving both of these guys together. And now we have a combination of vector and raster graphics, and in some of our upcoming lessons we are going to learn how to take our images, both vector and raster, and export PNG files, GIF files, and JPEGs. Alright, so let me just move this guy down here, and then we'll be able to save our file. In the next lesson, we are going to learn how to get images out of Fireworks and ready for the web in Adobe Dreamweaver.